Hey everybody, welcome back once again to Brick System Brothers. My name is Nathan Masters, and I'm going to be talking about a few more of the ideas, projects that have been announced to move on in the review stage. I've done 2 videos already covering 1 through 5 and 6 through 10. In this video, I looked ahead at the projects and I'm going to try to cover 10 more. So we're going to do 11 through 20 today. And then the last 5 will be in one more video after this. So, Avatar, number 11, Illuminated World of Pandora. Just going to jump right in here by Bulldozer. Nice. I have seen this movie as well, and I think the audience, the target audience that this set would be aiming for is just out of reach of, the audience LEGO usually wants to provide sets for. Even though Ideas is leaning towards being a more of a creator expert. Sometimes the sets and ideas are on the upper end of that. But even though the treehouse was a large set and a complicated set, the appeal there is still to all ages, so something you can build with younger kids. So what are some of the strong points of this project? I think the custom minifigs look really good here. If I'm not mistaken, those are using some hair pieces that already exist for some elves, probably from Lord of the Rings. But if they're new molds, then that might not, you might get it in Ideas. I guess the Winnie the Pooh that we're looking out for will probably have some new molds, so a similar deal there. The model itself, I just think it looks kind of busy. A great use of color for sure, and like I mentioned in a previous video, LEGO does lean towards the vibrant colors on their palette. And models that are kind of toned down will usually be updated with brighter colors. And so in this case, looking at the bright colors, probably true for the most part to elements from the movie, but all together kind of compressed into this little display, it does get a little bit busy in my opinion. So I don't see Avatar moving on, although if you are a big fan of this movie, this would make a nice mock, a nice display piece. And that's probably why it got 10,000 supporters. Avatar is pretty popular. It has been around for a little while, so enough people have seen it, and also would like to see a LEGO set or a LEGO mock with Avatar that, it can get some traction there pretty well. Don't think we're going to see it as the next Ideas. Number 12, Spirited Away by Lego Truman. Kind of a simplistic art piece here. At least the image is, but start looking at the details. We do have some custom minifig decoration designs and the no-face kind of minifig, I guess it's some kind of figure, and then the other characters from the movie. And then the main build is this, the iconic, I think it's the main structure from the movie, although if I remember correctly it was more of almost a city. So just choosing one building and kind of narrowing that scope down to make this project. Don't know how well it's going to go. It's obviously popular, 10,000 supporters to get to this stage, but comparatively to Ninjago City Docks or the Ninjago modulars, I think is one of the closest things we would see to this with an official LEGO set, and there's just something off about it. I think there's kind of sporadic design elements going on. The walls are a little bit drab, just solid slabs of red. You got a couple arches in there, but it's also a large model. So if this does get passed into approval, and I don't know as it has a great chance of doing that, even though Spirited Away is popular, it's going to be quite a bit smaller, I think, and it's going to see a lot of design changes. If this does get approved. Another reason LEGO might not go for this is they probably need a Studio Ghibli license to do this set. I don't know if they have a Studio Ghibli license. Just trying to rack my mind real quick and see if they've done anything else within that universe, and I don't think they have. So that might not come as easy as some of the other licenses LEGO has done over the years. Another roadblock to look at for Spirited Away. Number 13, Jumanji of 1995 by Nikana. When I first saw this project, I thought to myself, this would make a really cool companion set to the Home Alone that's coming out of Ideas it should be the next round of sets, because that got confirmed and it moved on in the approval stage, and we had that announcement last year. So the Home Alone house did get approved, but we haven't seen any of the final models yet, just the fan design. And so when I first saw this Jumanji set, the first thing that stuck out to me was it would look really cool, you know, side by side, to have the Home Alone movie house and the Jumanji movie house. And now this one also splits apart like in the movie. And if these characters up here are any indication, it seems like there would be additional minifigs from the movie as well, from, you know, the characters in there. Other than that, I don't know as there would be a lot of play features. The garden is a little busy here. I think that would have to be shrunk back a little bit. Of course, the glowing lights would probably not be incorporated with actual light elements. They might be, you never know. Legos does have a light brick, so they could put that in there somehow. And then the rest of the house, maybe some minor touch-ups, but it's pretty close to what I would not be surprised to see come out of ideas, especially since the Home Alone house has been approved. Just looking at something similar there in terms of following a cohesive thread through the line the year after. I'm not sure on the timeline if these do get approved on when we actually see these sets. I think it's going to be probably towards the end of this year or even into 2022, because the idea is kind of goes in stages. There's like 3 approvals per year, and then each set of those 3 maybe have multiple ideas, 1 to 3 or so, and then those get designed kind of in stages. So it's been a couple months since they announced who was actually moving on, but then they also announced this list of 25 that were approved. So now they have to go through these 25 and narrow it down. And I think it's been the case before where they actually didn't move ahead with any of the ideas projects from a certain year. It's been a while since that happened though. So Jumanji of 1995, I would not be surprised to see this move ahead, but if it doesn't, I would understand why, because there's some other pretty good ones on this list of approved, or not approved yet, of supported sets. Like number 14, The Little Venice by Bricky Brick. Here's something that we would expect to see from an upper end mocker who has a large parts disposal, kind of, you know, really into the architectural details of things. And this is also what I was talking about when I mentioned submissions that have more of a toned down color palette, more of an earthy scheme. This was something we saw with the Medieval Blacksmith Shop, and the new images out from, I think, the Amazon listing show the official blacksmith shop design with updated colors, some more sand and blue, sand green and blue on the roof, on the walls. It's been updated with some white pieces. Dark brown was updated to regular brown. That kind of color change keeps it within, you know, the Lego line of products and keeps that iconic branding image. I think if this got approved, we'd see something similar there. But this color scheme is not too far off from the Parisian restaurant from the modular buildings line. So maybe not as many updates as we've seen from previous ideas projects. This is quite a large scale ideas project as well. I think the cap on projects now is 3,000 pieces. I have to double check that, but that would make this, maybe there's not so much detail on the inside. Possibly it's open backed, but it looks like it's fully enclosed. A nice detail I did want to point out here before we move on is the roof design, and it looks like these are just tiled plates set at angles. Pretty realistic looking roof design with the tiles on there, different colors, all contributing to a more architectural with the details like I mentioned. And then some minifigs on here as well. Little Venice with the canal, little bridge. Drawing from like an actual city and doing something in minifig scale would be something we haven't seen a lot of, because Lego has their architecture line, but those are all done usually at a pretty small scale. Micro scale is the term. So we do have like inspired material from cities, and they actually do like New York, Sydney, London. So there's skylines within the architecture line, but none of those are anywhere near the scale where you would have a minifig walking around. So this would be something that's maybe zoomed in on a very narrow portion of the city, and you know there's 3 houses here, 5 minifigs or so, and You could almost play out, you know, who's living in this house across the river. This couple is going under the bridge in the gondola. So again, something that might not actually make it through the approval process, but with a little bit of practice, you could mock this up, I think. The main thing here is going to be some of the special parts, these white bar fences, becoming a little more common, but sometimes pieces get a little bit expensive. So just finding the parts to do something like this gets a little bit prohibitive, and that's why a lot of people want to see it in an ideas set, hence the 10,000 supporters. Everything comes nicely packaged in the box for you to build, and you don't have to track down parts, spending a fortune on that. Usually ideas sets can get down to within the 10-cent per piece range, which is just about the sweet spot for new Lego. So Little Venice, I don't think this is going to move on. It's just a little too big and a little too detailed, but ideas might surprise me. Number 15, the Auto Union Type C race car by Redera00. Another one, very detailed, kind of niche actually. I wouldn't know off the top of my head what kind of race car this was, although I could tell you that, you know, it's like, oh, it's one of those old race cars that used to drive through the desert back when, you know, they didn't have any protective equipment and they were just doing it for fun. It reminds me of the Caterham Ideas project that we did see a couple years ago, and I think that was pretty popular. So I could see something like this going through, maybe scaled down a little bit, but at this scale I have a hard time seeing all these details make it through the approval process. But a really well done design for Auto Union Type C race car. Again, I don't have a lot of reference material pulled up just to compare these with the actual thing. I'm just trying to go off of first impressions as kind of your regular adult fan of Lego. Maybe a little background knowledge for some of it, but some of the other projects going in with fresh eyes. And this one, haven't really seen a lot of other reference material, just in terms of, you know, I would be familiar with this and want to buy it. If this was approved, I probably wouldn't get it, just to be honest, but it is larger, detailed set, something that we'd maybe expect to see in the Technic Supercar line or the now retired Creator Expert line. I think Creator Expert products are moving to the 18+ theme, so the modulars and all that, it's going to still be coming out, but it's not called Creator Expert anymore. So something I would maybe expect to see at this scale from the official Lego product lines, but maybe not out of ideas. So for Type C race car, I don't know. I don't think so. Number 16 is the automated garbage truck by Mochi Master and Alexander Hammerstein. Hamsterton. Yeah, Alexander Hamsterton. And the automated garbage truck has made the rounds on YouTube. I did see the clip of it actually in operation. It's a really smooth mechanism. So I'm glad this actually made it through ideas. But to me, it just seems like something that should go through the City product line instead of the Ideas product line. So again, if there was a way for Lego to maybe take something, giving credit to the designer and, you know, the benefits that the designer gets for having an Ideas product go all the way through, but putting that in one of their other categories, it just seems like it's better suited in this case to a City line. Again, with that working dump mechanism, the side load, pretty cool there. And that's really the feature that sets it apart, because Lego's done a lot of garbage trucks over the years. But yeah, I was very impressed by how compact the mechanism is, because it's not necessarily hard to build something like this, the arm that comes over and picks it up. What's hard is to get it crunched down and compressed down into something that will fit within the 6-wide scale of a vehicle, and that's what this is. You know, this is your 6-wide windshield. So to fit something in with that mechanism and still have it look, you know, like a regular garbage truck, not too far out from what we'd expect to see from the City product line, is pretty impressive. And at this scale, it has a pretty good chance of making its way on through. I just don't know if, from Lego's point of view, they would rather have some kind of product like this in their City line, and so they wouldn't put it through Ideas, which would be a bummer to the creator. But you know, like I said, if there's a workaround way to include the designers here in that final product, just not putting it through Ideas, just putting it out there, I don't know all the details for that. It would start a precedent that we don't necessarily want to have, because we want to keep these fan designs within this theme. If this did go through ideas and it was reasonably priced, I would consider picking it up because I like that mechanism, but I would probably try to build one of my own. Even if it doesn't go through, I might try to build one of these. Okay, number 17 is another head scratcher, the TX Master Games by TX Master. I have no idea what this is supposed to be, and I still wouldn't know except for the fact that I was reading the comments on this article, which is on Brickset, and some other people did some investigating, and apparently this has to do with Taekwondo or a martial arts thing. And so one of the popular martial arts instructors from a foreign country, I don't remember the details, but some guy with enough influence to actually get this up to 10,000 supporters is kind of behind this project and the reason why it's here on Ideas. And it goes back to what I was talking about in the previous video about, you know, Ideas is it kind of seems like some of the projects are less of an indicator of fan support and community support and more of an indicator that the designer just has good enough social media skills to get this in front of enough people, and these people are clicking support, not necessarily wanting to buy the set, just doing what they're told in terms of, well, I like this guy, and he says he wants me to support this thing. I don't really buy any Lego, but if he says he wants me to do that, I guess I can do it for him. And in that case, this 10,000 supporter milestone is kind of a false positive for Lego Ideas. And products like these, even though they are here, you know, following the rules, not necessarily an indicator that it's something the community wants to see developed into an official Lego product. In this case, I don't think there's a big issue here with, you know, Lego mistakenly putting this into production and it being a massive flop, because I think just looking at it, you could kind of see it's not really something that Lego would want to pursue. And I'm sure, like, if I was familiar with some of the TX Master games that you can do with this thing, some kind of checkers maybe, but I just think the audience is so narrow compared to what Lego wants to produce that it just doesn't stand a chance of making it through. And in my opinion, it shouldn't be on this list in the first place. Even though there are, you know, there's a small community of people who would enjoy this kind of thing. But that being said, this is easy enough to build with parts that you probably have on hand, and if you don't have them on hand, I think you could go and make 2 trips to 2 different Lego stores and have this built in an afternoon. So again, not something that we should be trying to put through Ideas. Just one of those things where Lego has been looking at changing the requirements to have a supported idea move onto the approval stage. Not necessarily saying we need more than 10,000 supporters, because I think that is a good number, but looking at, you know, how are those supporters being incorporated in? How are we counting people? Is there just a single click that people don't really need to be familiar with Lego to go on and just click through and, you know, like boost something up? I think I've said enough about that. I really hope this doesn't become an official Lego product. Number 18, Milwaukee Art Museum. Let me try that again. Milwaukee Art Museum by Vida Andras. I think that's how you say it. Another architecture style model here. Very distinctive is the word I'm going to use, because it is, I assume, a model of a building that looks like this in Milwaukee. I'm not familiar with the art museum, but if you are familiar with the art museum, this is probably unmistakable. I doubt there's anything like this architecture-wise, and similar to the Colosseum, which is up higher on this list, something that could do well in the architecture line. It's maybe a little bit on the big side for a single building, but you know, thinking back to the Creator Expert Sydney Opera House, that was quite a large set as well. So through the Ideas line, I don't know if that's something that Lego wants to put the Ideas label on, but also have it kind of in the architecture theme. Even though it would look good in the theme, I don't necessarily think that we're going to see that kind of crossover endorsed by the Lego group. I think they would try to make this if they decide to make a Milwaukee Art Museum, I think they would try to make it more of a standalone thing rather than on an architecture style base like it is here. You know, your kind of dark gray and black outline is all within kind of the familiar display base of the architecture. It's also in some creator expert sets, so it might stay, but compared to some of the other favorable options in this list of 25, I don't think it's going to make it through. Again, kind of a niche audience for this particular building, but a little better use in terms of, you know, the parts that would be in here that aren't necessarily as easy to find, something you would want to see in an official Lego set. Number 19, the Car Wash by Bricky Brick. Another modular-esque building, which is the main reason I don't think this will get approved. Like I've talked about before, modulars, you can build them on ideas all you want, but I really doubt you're going to see a modular be approved because modulars are kind of special to the Lego group and they want to keep that theme in-house with complete control over the direction of that theme. But that being said, the car wash idea is nice. I think the building may be a little bit too similar to Downtown Diner in that respect. It's a very similar aesthetic with the curved windows right here. This would almost be a continuation of Downtown Diner, kind of on the next block over. So even if Lego was in the business of putting modulars through ideas, I just think there's too many similarities here with one of their own official modulars to kind of bring this in as it is. But maybe as a starting point for something else, maybe less of an emphasis on the building and more of an emphasis on an actual car wash, like it says there is somewhere. I guess the car wash part of it is out front here where you're just sponging down the vehicle. The vehicle in the model is nice. I think I'd like to see more official Lego vehicles done in their modulars line, especially, you know, with the police station. I think the designer mentioned they were looking at possibly including a more like an older style police car to go with the modular. They ended up leaving it out so that they could put more of the parts budget and the set budget into the building itself and kind of bring that up another step for the building experience. Maybe some new elements in the building. We know there were a couple. So by keeping cars out of some of their modulars, and there's modulars with cars as well. I think the most recent one being the corner garage that had the blue tow truck. There's just a balance that you got to find. I mean, you can't make everyone happy, so I'm sure there's people that really don't care to see cars in modulars at all. They just want the building. There's people that want to see a car in every modular. There's people that would rather just buy little Lego cars, like the vintage car gift with purchase. So, you know, maybe look at doing something like that with a couple different vehicles in this style, and more of a smaller scale car wash that isn't supposed to be a modular. I think that would see a little more success. This project as it stands, I don't think is going to get any traction with the official design review, but the 1950s, possibly even older than that. I think this is, oh, so this is a music store over here and this is a car wash. You know, like the lettering design here is good. The brick built guitar, that's pretty cool, but I think, again, you know, looking at the set, maybe getting a little bit busy in terms of what is the identity here. There's just maybe a little bit too much going on to be approved as it is. So probably whatever does get approved in this lineup is going to see some modifications. And there was actually an article on here on Brickset about that as well, and that's a whole nother discussion. So really, that's like the third or fourth time I've said that. So this discussion of ideas projects is kind of opening up doors to other topics that I do want to talk about, and I will talk about them if it comes up in conversation. I don't want to put a whole lot of our content in that format because I also want to do reviews and Josh has his stuff going on. So if that is maybe like something people keep asking about, if that's in the comments of these videos a lot, then I would pursue it, but I don't know as I want to do those just to do them. So the car wash, probably not going to see from Lego Ideas. And the last one I'm going to talk about today is number 20, Wallace and Gromit by Tom Gerardine. I think that's how you say it. Wallace and Gromit is definitely kind of a European thing, maybe the UK more, but Josh and I have both seen the show, some of the animated episodes. It's clay animation, stop motion animation, and it's very well done. So I forget the name of the studio that does it, but there's a lot of effort put into the models, and actually this character here, the oven, is from one of the movies that Josh and I watched. It was like a DVD with the three individual storylines and movies, and actually all of the models in here are from the ones that Josh and I have watched. So this is kind of cool from my point of view and the background that I have to see this done in Lego. I think this does have a wider audience on the other, in Europe and maybe in the U.S. I think there's a decent audience in the U.S., but not as many people here, I think, know of Wallace and Gromit. It is getting a little bit older now, too, but they stayed relevant with their Shaun the Sheep movies, so that's the same franchise tied in, and there's Shaun right here. So the scale on here is actually the biggest thing. This is a pretty large-scale model. Wallace's legs are 4x4, and Gromit's legs are 2x2, so a minifig would barely come up to the top of Wallace's shoe here. That's a pretty large figure, and you almost need that scale to get this kind of detail in for this model. But again, reaching the upper limit on parts of what Lego maybe wants to do with ideas, trying to kind of rein in some of the really high piece count models that have gone through. So it'll be an interesting question. I think the license is appealing from a standpoint of a wide enough audience and something that does translate well into Lego. And this actually reminds me a lot of the Micky Mouse 18 plus set that we got in 2020. So this would make a really nice companion piece to the Micky Mouse set, kind of up there on the mantle. It's not really something you would be doing a lot of playing with, and there's not a lot of action features here, but more of a static display model. Again, looking at something that Lego has done officially, the Mickey and Minnie from their 18 plus line. So maybe a few of these accessories down here would not make it all the way through, but I could see, even if this is scaled down to just Wallace and Gromit, I could see that being a very successful idea set. I'd like to see all the models here make it through in Wallace and Gromit, but I would not complain if it just came down to Wallace and Gromit themselves, just the two of them, and maybe Shaun. We gotta have Shaun in the sweater. But that would help a lot with the part count, and then you could keep the size, I think, and it would be a very successful ideas model. And that's where I'm going to stop for today. So the next 5 in this list will make the last video of discussion about LEGO Ideas products from this wave of approved products. Remember, these are all not approved, just supported. So they've received 10,000 votes on the Ideas platform, and this list of 25 is now in the approval stage to see which ones, if any, will move on to become our official LEGO Ideas sets. And then the ones that do move on will have to go through the design review, and LEGO will have to put their full design team for ideas on these projects, and they're currently working on the most recent wave for this. So it's kind of a little ways out in terms of when we will see these, if we do see them, but never too early to talk about it. And that's what I wanted to cover today on Brick System Brothers. So thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you in the next one.